right, cheers, man.
Cheers.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I really like this flavor.
Yeah.
That's really good.
This is what our assistant Komin brought us.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It says really good. I like this.
Yeah. That's good. It's really fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, I mean, it's local to Tokyo, right? But she also brought us this oroshiki.
Yeah, I'm really excited because I've seen graters before, but
I know.
I just really like to look at graters.
Yeah, I
and
know. We're going to be talking about graters. No, we're not going to be talking about graters today. Actually, what we're really going to be talking about today, well, our topic today is going to be about Japanese food in America, but to really experience that, we also have some real wasabi right here.
I have never actually seen actual wasabi before.
Mm-hmm.
It's always been in the the little paste squeezer thing.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, how would you describe the way that this looks?
So it kind of reminds me of like an avocado and a ginger root, kind of mushed together. Like it's got kind of like the color of an avocado, and like the leaves look similar, but then it really looks like a ginger root.
So try and smell this a bit. So it's going to smell different from actual wasabi that you're used to.
But it's still got a little bit of that spicy smell.
Yeah, it does. It does. But how does this smell differently than like the wasabi you're used to?
So, I mean, like I think most people know that like the traditional wasabi that you see in supermarkets, like the little squeeze tube, that's horseradish.
Yeah.
And so when you smell it, it smells like horseradish.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's got like a really green texture to it, and it's
dude, smell that. Dude, just smell that aroma.
Ooh, I'm excited. Oh wow. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's got a little bit of a burn to it.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah. I mean, so one thing for me is that here, Austin, I've had real wasabi multiple times, so you have it. You tell us how it is. Taste test. Austin, do you know how to use chopsticks?
Oh yeah. Please say how Jozu I am.
Actually,
no. My chopstick game would actually upset a lot of people because, like, I hold chopsticks not the way you're supposed to hold them in Japan. But I don't care because I hold them my way.
You hold them your way. I mean,
I'm left-handed anyway, so I'm already a freak.
I know. It's okay. The world is not made for you, man.
Should I be like those comedians on TV?
You gotta hold it up to the camera.
No, they just put it up in their nose and like start snorting wasabi.
Just take a little bit. Don't take too much, man. Austin loves spicy food, by the way.
So, wow, that's really good, actually.
It's good, isn't it? I love real wasabi. Yeah. How's it? Okay, you just ate a bunch more. That's great. How does this compare to the wasabi that you're used to?
Okay. All right. I've kind of experienced the full flavor now.
Yeah.
So I will say, right off the bat, it tastes similar to like the normal wasabi. Like it has the kick, right?
Yeah.
But something that I noticed is like with the horseradish wasabi, there's a higher high and then it drops off immediately.
Yeah, right.
But it's like bam, wasabi, and done.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas this feels like it doesn't go up to that spiciness level, but it also doesn't drop off as fast. It kind of slowly goes down.
Yeah, it's more for me. It's like more full. It's like more of a oomph to it instead of just like a piercing thing. But yeah.
Wow, it's really good though. I like that.
I really like this because this tastes more like vegetal and refreshing to me than it does.
Yeah.
I've never been a big fan of horseradish. So like eggs with hollandaise sauce on it. No,
I like it for what it is.
Yeah. So,
but I also really like that.
So the thing about 1 second. So the thing about wasabi in Japan versus in the United States is there's actually a law that says in order to call it wasabi and to label it wasabi, it's got to have at least 5% actual wasabi in it. The rest can be horseradish. It can be 95% horseradish, but it's just got to be 5% wasabi.
So I'm very curious, and I don't even know if you know this answer, but I just want to project this out there. Why don't we just use wasabi? Why do we use horseradish?
So wasabi is actually really expensive. So like this root that we have right here.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, Komi, how much was that? Like 500 yen or something? 300 yen? Yeah, it was pretty small. Yeah, so if you want to get like a good size root, they get really expensive because the only place you can grow them is in the like the riverbeds of like, so they need to have flowing water over them. You need to like plant them in a river.
Oh, really?
And that's why it's so like for wasabi harvesters, they make like an artificial river and they put the roots in, and then they just have the fresh water going over it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
interesting.
It's funny because it's the same thing with rice. Like, you know.
Well, yeah, you know, like everyone knows like rice paddies and stuff, where you flood the rice field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about wasabi though is in America you don't have that rule. So wasabi in America is just 100% horseradish with green food coloring on it.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. And you know, my mom loves that. My mom loves wasabi so much. She'll put a huge glob of wasabi on, and then she'll start crying, and she's like, "I feel it. It's so nice. It's cleaning out my sinuses." You know, but yeah. So because of this difference, you know, like it's almost impossible to get real wasabi in the United States. But this topic really made me think about the difference between Japanese food.
Yeah.
And you said you don't know too much about that. Do you want to elaborate on that?
No. I said the opposite.
Oh.
I know quite a bit about it, especially on like the West Coast of Japanese food. But what I misspoke or you misheard me. But what I was saying is I don't know that there's that much representation of Japanese food in the U.S.
Yeah.
So like I'll just go based off of my experience, right? Because Japanese food is popular, especially in Los Angeles and Seattle.
Yeah, right.
There's quite a few like really high level Japanese restaurant chains that are in both of those cities. Especially Los Angeles and in the area in LA that's called Little Tokyo.
Yeah,
it's
okay.
kind of like the Chinatown version for Japan.
Yeah.
And you know, you have places that are like Benihana's, which is I think there actually is a Benihana's here in Tokyo.
There is?
I think so.
Okay.
Blue Sea Sushi.
Dude, by the way, what type of food is Benihana?
Benihana is I've never been there.
Okay,
it's like they prepare it in front of you, right?
Yeah. So here's the thing that a lot of Japanese people will be surprised at because Benihana's is what you call in Japan. It's called robatayaki or teppanyaki, where you have like a huge grill in front and you prepare it in front, right? Yeah. But for some reason in America they call them either Japanese steakhouses, but if you want to be really cool, they call them hibachi.
Oh.
Yeah, hibachi. You've heard that word before, right?
Yeah, I've heard that term before. I never really knew what it meant.
But hibachi in Japanese is a pot you use to cook things. Like you put fire in it, and so like
it's like wok.
Yeah, well, no, it's like a bowl. Like it's a bowl that you would like put stuff in. Like you would cook food over it or something. It's like it's like a mini fireplace or something like that, a mini oven. But yeah, so like when Japanese people hear the word hibachi, they think of like that pot. But when they go to a hibachi restaurant in America, it's robatayaki, you know? It's just so weird.
So like that's what I think of like when I think of like high-end restaurants.
Yeah.
But if you're thinking of like regular restaurants, what you will usually see, and I'm not going to talk about the most popular one, I'm going to lead into that. But if you're like true Japanese food, will be ramen. You'll see tonkatsu and sushi.
Yeah, on the West Coast,
on the West Coast. Is it different on the East Coast?
So you have to understand that on the East Coast is that much farther away from Japan.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
It's another 6-hour plane ride. And you do have some high-end sushi restaurants. Like near where I live, there was a place called Bluefin Sushi, whatever. But most of the areas local to me, now actually there's a couple of ramen shops, Japanese-style ramen shops, where you can get ramen for $15-20.
Yeah, it's really expensive.
It's expensive. It's crazy.
I was thinking of like $30 ramen.
Seriously, man.
Which is just insane when you think of how cheap ramen is.
Yeah,
here.
Right. And but most of the places where you get it, it's actually where I'm from. It's a Chinese restaurant that has a sushi bar in it.
Yeah.
And so it's not even Japanese. It's more like Asian fusion.
Yeah, and that's what you'll really often see specifically when it comes to Japanese food. It'll be attached to some like a Chinese restaurant or something. But I want to kind of move into the most popular Japanese food, which I think a lot of people here wouldn't even call it Japanese food.
What is it?
Teriyaki chicken.
Teriyaki chicken. Okay, so just to remind you guys, or not to remind you guys, but to kind of paint the scene a bit. So I came when I first came to Seattle, I was surprised at all of the teriyaki
They're huge.
restaurants. Now, please explain what a teriyaki plate is.
Okay, so a teriyaki plate, I would say, is the closest thing to like actual Japanese food. Is I would kind of say it's very similar to gyudon.
Okay.
Where you have a rice bowl with meat on top, and teriyaki chicken. Typically, you will get either like a styrofoam container, or you'll get a bowl of rice, and then there will be grilled chicken on top with
a teriyaki sauce.
But it's not real teriyaki sauce. It's not real teriyaki sauce. It's soy sauce with a ton of sugar added on.
Yeah.
And that's what it is.
Yeah. And then there's a little portion of salad on the side.
Yeah. So
back when I was a college student, didn't have very much money. I would go to the teriyaki places because it was cheap, and they would give you like 2.5 days worth of food in a box.
So much food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one thing that I was like surprised about too is actually, do you have any like Japanese restaurants that you remember in the Seattle area?
I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
But there was one in downtown Bellevue that I really liked.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for those of you who are familiar with Seattle, a very, very large part of the Japanese community is around Bellevue.
Yeah.
It's like Japanese and Koreans that typically live there.
Yeah. It used to be in the international district.
Yeah.
But then some stuff happened.
Yeah.
But you said so for me though, I have to tell you, what was really cool though is when I went to Seattle, I really felt like I was getting authentic Japanese food, not the teriyaki places, but that was when I really had like real like Japanese karaage for the first time was in Seattle, and it was really good. Yeah,
I honestly, Seattle has some really good Japanese, especially ramen and tonkatsu places. Like the best tonkatsu I've ever had was actually in Seattle, not here in Japan.
Why? What was so good about it?
There was nothing special about the pork, but it was just simple and it just tasted great.
I need to take you to a couple of tonkatsu places around here.
I've been to some really good ones, man. Like it's not like look, tonkatsu is one of my favorite foods. I love eating tonkatsu.
Okay.
I'm just saying, Seattle makes some banging tonkatsu.
Well, next time I go to Seattle, I need to check that out because I'm not sure how much I believe you.
All right.
But the first time I had
Mr. Anti-America over here.
I'm not anti-America. I just love living here. But the first time I had maguro no kama, tuna collar, and ankimo, which is monkfish liver, was in an izakaya in downtown Seattle.
Yeah,
that was really good. That was really nice. But
I think a big part of that is the fact that geographically speaking, Seattle has access to the best seafood in the world. Yeah, because a lot of the seafood they get, it comes from Alaska and comes from like that northern Pacific area, and the fish there is like literally thought of as the best quality fish in the world. Yeah.
So what is something that you think, if Japanese people came to eat Japanese food in the United States, what's something they'd be surprised at?
A couple things. I think they would be surprised at the amount of rice that's given in their meals.
It's like 3 times what you get here.
Yeah, it's a lot. So like rice is kind of considered like a side dish here in Japan, where you usually, if you're getting like traditional style Japanese food, you get like a small bowl of rice and that's what you eat. But in Japanese food that's given in America, it's like secondary to like the main part of the dish, right? So you'll get
half of your food.
Yeah, you'll get like your meat or whatever, and then it'll be like this giant mountain of rice.
Yeah, it's like, so in the styrofoam boxes for the teriyaki, it's like you have one corner is the meat, one corner is the salad, and then 2 corners is the rice.
Yeah. Miso soup is another thing which for some reason it's kind of served in a very large portion.
Yeah.
And I think that's because it's safe.
Yeah.
Right? Like Americans in general don't really like vegetables.
Yeah. So
you don't really see a lot of vegetables given, but like there'll be some miso soup on the side, but instead of this like a small little thing, it'll be like a bowl.
Yeah. I remember, so because sushi started to become really, really popular when we were younger. And I have a couple of friends who I would go get sushi with all the time, and I never realized it, but they never ate sushi with raw fish on it.
Yeah.
And then I remember talking to them and saying, hey, you have to try this sushi. And they're like, oh, I love sushi. Oh, is that raw fish? Yeah. I don't like that. And then, because of like a lot of Americans have an aversion to raw fish, so they'll have vegetable or like fried fish in it or something,
Yeah.
So that's another big thing.
Yeah.
One thing though I thought was interesting was just like in Japan when people get sushi, a lot of it is like nigiri, you know, like the raw fish on top. But in America, most of it is like makimono with rice on the outside, and on the inside you'll have like fried shrimp or something like that.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. There's two things that I never see with Japanese food in the U.S. And the first one is daikon.
Daikon, yeah.
I never see daikon in America.
Sometimes you see it in the supermarkets, but you never see it in the Japanese food.
I think that might be just because Americans probably just don't like daikon.
Yeah.
The other one is seaweed.
Yeah.
Seaweed, like you just never see it.
Yeah, I will tell you the one thing that was, and we can end here, but like one time I was in South Carolina with my family because my mom's from South Carolina, and we went to a really nice Japanese restaurant.
Yeah.
And I saw that they had sukiyaki on the menu.
Okay.
And you know, the thing is, in Japan with sukiyaki, you dip it in raw egg, but it's illegal for restaurants to serve raw egg in the United States because it's dirty.
Yeah.
So I was wondering how they did it. And also, you can't get really thinly sliced meat. Dude, that was like the most disappointing experience. Like you had meat that was like this thick. Oh. It was like little like steak slices, and there's no egg. There's no egg on it, and it's just like
this dry like strip of meat.
Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah. So I think you can get good sushi in the United States, but
ramen too. I'd say
you can get good ramen too. Yeah. It's like 2-3 times.
It's very expensive.
Yeah.
It's very expensive. It's like, I would say it's like pizza.
Yeah.
You know, pizza here in Japan is insanely expensive compared to how it is in the US.
Yeah.
Ramen's the same in the US.
Yeah, and I would say a lot of people who watch this, you know, you guys are living in the United States. I would love to hear your experience with Japanese food in the United States.
For sure.
Yeah. Cool, man. So next time we're going to be talking about Howl's Moving Castle. And there's a nice short episode.
Yeah.
See you guys later.